This video is going to be a film study examination of Roquan Smith's play against the Pittsburgh Steelers on Sunday in the Ravens' 18-16 loss. I think this may have been his best game of the season, to be honest with you, from the standpoint of the width of his impact from sideline to sideline. Also, very tenacious against the run. There was a level of tenacity, there was a level of aggression and downhill play by Roquan Smith. I'm not saying we hadn't seen it before, but it was very evident when watching the film. Combine that with what I think was improved pass coverage, particularly his eye discipline. Not staring, at the quarterback as much as we have seen him so far in 2024 at times. I think Roquan Smith turned in a heck of a performance. It's unfortunate, obviously, that he suffered a hamstring injury. That those are the types of injuries that could linger on. Maybe they don't linger on for a month, but the types of things that can affect you in the ensuing week of practice. We need Roquan Smith out on the field. Not only that, we need this version of Roquan Smith, in my opinion, taking on blocks, making stops against the run at the line of scrimmage or behind, in fact, taking good pass drops, being on the correct leverage side, and reacting to the route and the quarterback at the same time. That's kind of a misnomer. You can't react to both at the same time, but you can ping-pong your eyes between the quarterback and the routes to get in the right position. But the thing that I think is most interesting here is his use as a blitzer. Am I saying he's going to be tremendously effective in that role? Well, no, not necessarily. But I think that if we're willing to use him as a field side blitzer or crossing the center and blitzing to the boundary, then we can start to drop out outside linebackers or even D tackles into zone dropping coverages. We seem to do more of that against the Steelers in terms of blitzing Roquan as part of a safe four-man package, very similar to a lot of the things that I think Mike Macdonald did in 2023. Let's get to the film. Here we got 10 plays to go over. Generally, we'll try to spot shadow him, where he's going to be. He's the field side, inside linebacker, the Mike. This is almost like a Tampa 2 drop on a play action concept, so he's getting depth. And then the thing that you notice about him against the Steelers was he's able to be in the middle of the field and then get credit for tackles from the bottom of the numbers to the sideline. It's not like he's stop on this particular play. It's a 7-yard gain. It's not his fault. They're completing. The Steelers were heavily focused on play action, providing Russell Wilson possible options downfield, and such that if he didn't take them, he immediately was able to take the check down to the running back. Also, in the second and third quarter, they went to more actual play action running back screens. I don't think their offensive coordinator trusts Russell Wilson as much as a lot of us probably think they do. But in any case, moving on to the first possession here, this is going to be 2 deep, 4 under coverage. Quick tackle by Roquan, ball on the right hash, so of course he's located to the field. It's a 5-man rush, quick completion to George Pickens. Because we have vacated an area, there's 5 underneath zones, and we're only, quote, covering 4 of them. Pickens has some space between the top of the numbers and the hash. Roquan's reacting to it quickly. That's the thing in pass coverage I feel like was a little bit more present in this game. He was reacting quicker to routes, and the quarterback also getting his eyes, snapping his eyes outside often. Look, you have a quick example of it here. He knows he's got work. If 2 goes out, 1's normally moving to the inside. If 1 goes, or if 2 goes vertical, 1 is often inside deep and late. Those are just conceptual things you try to teach inside linebackers. It gets a lot more complicated than that. But 2 quick explanations. In this case, Roquan, I think, is using his eyes better to see and find the routes, ID the routes, and then react to them when the ball is thrown. We've moved forward here to the second possession. This is a brilliant play by Tre'Davious Washington. I've talked about this in a couple of other videos. It's going to be Jaylen Warren out into the flats. The Steelers have caught or recognized that Trenton Simpson is going to blitz. We're actually faking both guys blitzing. They actually both, Roquan and Trenton Simpson, act like they're going to blitz here. And so the Steelers ID that. Russell Wilson knows where he's going to go with the football now. He's going to go out into the flats to Jaylen Warren. Quick throw, and you can see Tre'Davious is already breaking on it. That's what allows him to get underneath of this little snag/pick by George Pickens. Be the first guy to make contact. Warren breaks the tackle at 2 yards depth from the line of scrimmage, and then Roquan finishes him off. That's a long way to go. How did he get that done? Well, we're blitzing Trenton Simpson, and as a result of us blitzing Simpson, We're dropping out the field side outside linebacker, straight out of Mike McDonald 2022 and 2023. Slinging or moving Roquan over to the other hash from the right side, top side of our screen, right side of the defense, and that does put him closer to the boundary, closer to where Jaylen Warren catches the football. Still, tremendous range on display, if you ask me, by Roquan. He was a force in this game, in my opinion. This is their third possession where we stop him on a fourth down. Roquan lined up at Mike linebacker. This is the quarterback sneak, the play preceding the 4th and 1 stop by Kyle Hamilton and Justin Madubuike. Roquan, I think, he gets credit for the tackle here. He's kind of punching late. It's really Broderick Washington and the guys on the bottom of this pile with the root hog technique, which essentially stonewalls the offensive lineman, doesn't let them get any push because we're going low, going underneath, and in some cases the Steelers guys are underneath of us. But Roquan and Broderick Washington get credit for the tackle on the quarterback sneak. Other guys are in there late. Fourth possession, not involved in the tackle here, but this is him taking on the block of the pulling left guard. Left guard will pull, and what I like about it, he does end up moving backwards a little bit upon contact, but what I really like about it is where it occurs. So the line of scrimmage is the -40, and this contact is taking place, I would say, at the 41. So Roquan has advanced, come downhill, just as much as the guard did. Now, the guard, you could say, has a longer way to go. We used to always talk to our inside linebackers about on a pull concept, counter, down kick, whatever you want to call it. If we're taking on blocks at the line of scrimmage, we can have B-level take-on block destruction and still make a great play. If we're taking on blocks -2, so 2 yards past the line of scrimmage in our direction, the defense's direction, and we take on with B-level block destruction, there's going to be 4 or 5 yards there. Everything for us was not just technique, but also where is the block occurring. Part of that is a mentality, and I don't think that's a shift for Roquan, but it's obvious on this play. He's coming downhill right now. The left guard actually happens to be lower pad level than him. Roquan sheds him. It's another great play by Tre'Davious Robinson. I thought Tre'Davious Robinson balled out against the Steelers on Sunday. Same play, end zone angle. We'll let it flow through a couple of times. Tre'Davious Robinson just stuffing the tight end, lifting him up, upending him, just like you would work on pads, and then condensing or compressing the inside gap while holding his own gap. Beautiful stuff. Ends up being a 0-yard gain on a 1st and 10. Moving forward, 5th possession, I think this is a great job that illustrates Roquan's pass drop ability when he's looking in the proper place. Now, he doesn't stare at the quarterback the whole time. He doesn't stare at the receivers the whole time, but he allowed the tight end to flash underneath, and then now he's locked on to George Pickens. Yeah, it is fair to say, well, he knew Pickens was lined up over there, so he knew where to drop. That's a real dynamic. I mean, that's just awareness. If you ask me, you're going to lose him a little bit off screen here in this frame, but you'll see that Russell Wilson is looking in that direction. Number one. Number two, Roquan's helmet is not looking at Russell Wilson. He has ID'd the route. Why? Because the tight end went underneath, so he knows if 3's going under, I've probably got 2 or 1 coming back to me, so he's finding work. There seems to be evidence, if you ask me, of work on our pass drops at the second level that was being done between the Bengals game and the Steelers game. Roquan specifically. I mean, we've seen this stuff from him before. When he came to Baltimore, I thought he was way better in pass coverage and drops than people gave him credit for. This year so far, a lot of staring at the quarterback, not getting underneath of routes. In this case, I think it's directly correlated to Oweh getting a sack. I reject the term coverage sacks. That's your job as an inside linebacker, as a nickel defender, a strong safety. It's your job to force the quarterback to get to his second read or maybe his third. That's how defense is supposed to work. So coverage sack, I don't care. It's a sack. It counts. So there is this push to minimize the Ravens' sack numbers and quarterback hits numbers. We are first in the NFL in quarterback hits. We are top 5 in the NFL in sacks. Our coverage on the back end and the second level, inside linebacker, strong safety, nickel defender, that's what needed to improve. It did this week against Pittsburgh, if you ask me. Roquan was a big part of that. We're into the third quarter now. This is an amazing tackle for loss against Warren. Roquan's going to go in this direction. to match Warren. He does a great job. I think you get the end zone angle of this one. He does a great job of tempoing the running back and also just going through open windows. He goes underneath of the blocker in this case, and Owe is doing a nice job flashing to the outside, so Warren's got to cut it back, cuts it back directly into Roquan, loss of 1 on the play. I believe I have the end zone angle here. Try to run it here in a moment so you can see it. It's 12 personnel under center. Could do a whole video on that from a Steelers-Ravens perspective, maybe even include the Lions because it's an ace formation, what I call ace. There's just so much that you can do and so much that teams are doing by motioning one of the tight ends and then kind of helping out. In this case, Washington either lost the outside linebacker or chipped and then moved up to the corner, allowing the second tight end to take over with Owe. Just wasn't enough force generated to expand Owe out of there. Let's see if we have the end zone angle. We do, same play. Again, this is third quarter. The Steelers are up 9-7 at this point. It's a tackle for loss by Roquan, who's at Mike Backer, but his feet are located to the field, so he's just off the midline. There's the midline right there. He's always been really good at this. It's a huge gap for him to fit under, obviously, but he's always been really good at showing the lineman and then going underneath and relying on the front side D end, outside linebacker, force player, whatever you want to call him. In this case, it's Owe to win, and then he gets credit for the tackle on the backside. Brilliant stuff. I think he played extremely well against the run, very good against the pass, and this is the best example in 2024, in my opinion, of him playing at a really high level in both of those elements. The only thing we didn't, quote, stop at certain points in time was the play-action running back screen. 3rd and 3, completion to Jaylen Warren. Great tackle by Roquan Smith. Coming downhill again. This is in the third quarter. The Steelers are up 9-7. They actually, I believe, convert a long field goal after this play. Two eligible receivers to the top, 2 to the bottom side, and he's got eyes. Right now, I believe he has eyes on the route going underneath, allows that to flow through, and then sits and waits on Jaylen Warren. That's an easy play from a Roquan Smith standpoint, given his athletic ability, his strength, and his tackling ability in space. Moving forward here a little bit later in the third quarter, it's 12-10, Steelers now. And this is going to be a tackle against Najee Harris, the running back, on a check down. It does go for, I think, 4 or 5 yards. This is very illustrative of what the Steelers were trying to get done and what they trusted Russell Wilson to try to accomplish against some of the coverages we were playing. Roquan's calling something out. I think he's pointing out this potential sail concept here. Sail, flood, whatever you want to call it. It's 3 receivers to one side, with the third one being Najee Harris in the flats, and that's where Russell Wilson goes to. When I talked about in the reaction video and in one of the film study videos I did, what I believe the Steelers' offensive staff thinks of Russell Wilson, these are the types of plays I'm talking about. No, there's nothing wrong with a half-field read inherently. That's really short-sighted evaluations. However, when you see 6, 8, 10 pass plays, all of the same flavor, either the offensive coordinator thinks they can't get anything done against us, or they don't trust the quarterback to be able to make certain decisions. I think it's a little bit of both. In my opinion, the Steelers' days offensively are numbered ahead of them. Third quarter still, 12-10. This is going to be Warren on a little flip into the bunch side, and Roquan underneath is going to get credit for the tackle, as well he should, but Kyle Van Noy does a great job. You do have a tight end, Washington, and a receiver, Skoranek, both here, comboing, doubling, whatever you want to say, against Van Noy, and then one guy's going to try to work up to Simpson. Watch the way Roquan fits this. Very precise angles, goes underneath because he knows, hey, I don't want to flow over the top. There's some trash here from an inside linebacker perspective. We would call that trash. Sometimes you go over the trash, sometimes you go underneath. Roquan starts to flash over the top of it and makes a good decision, goes underneath. Why? Because he matches the running back. Watch when he makes the cut. He does it the same time, essentially a split second after Jaylen Warren cuts it downhill. That's when Roquan jumps back underneath. Again, Van Noy, I think, is doing a great job at the point of attack there, along with Roquan Smith underneath. I would call that zone pitch as opposed to the pinpole pitch that we run. Third quarter, Roquan at Mike Backer, another run concept to their left. It seemed like there were a lot of those, and Roquan's going to get a tackle for loss. Fits this underneath. Again, it's a 2nd and 6, 12 personnel, ace under center. Motion one tight end across, double team or combo Malik Harrison. And they try to get the tight end in motion back out to the corner. So I think they're trying to get Harris to squirt through here. And watch what Roquan does underneath of the block by the left tackle. It's a nice blocking scheme, utilized often in the NFL at this point, particularly to the boundary. Wide receiver goes up to the front side inside backer. They're comboing these two up to Roquan Smith, the Mike, and then a brief double on the edge defender, and then let the tight end work through there to the corner after he's helped out expand that edge on Malik Harrison. The problem for them is Roquan goes underneath, number one. Number two, Matabike from this 4-eye, 3 technique, whatever, is able to walk the guard out and essentially put the guard in Najee Harris's path, and Roquan fits underneath of it. I don't know that it's really the way you would, quote, draw it up, but it's a great illustration of Roquan just playing football, making another tackle. You get the end zone angle of it here. I believe he had 13 tackles on the day, like I said, 8 solo, 5 assisted, no sacks, no interceptions, but in my opinion played a whale of a football game against the run and against the pass. Look at the seam or the gap that is there. Because they've scooped us on the backside. They've taken the guard and the center and worked up on Broderick Washington. So as the center turns his back, shouldn't say turns his back, but turns his body a little bit, you can see the gap or the hole that is created there. And Roquan takes the open window. When we would coach inside linebackers, depending on age, you wouldn't say this to younger kids. We would say, if you're trying to rob somebody's house, you're not going to go through a closed window. You're going to make too much noise. You want to go through an open window. You want to do it in the summertime at night when everybody's asleep. So look for that open window. Jump through there now. That's the quickest way to get in there underneath of the blocking scheme, essentially as quiet as possible, and not allow someone to get a block off on you. In my opinion, Roquan may have played his best game of the year, even though he had an interception in week 1 against the Chiefs. He had some situations where he's gotten pass rush pressure earlier in the year. I like that we're willing to use him as a blitzer more often, number one. Number two, at least in this game. And number two, that we're dropping outside linebackers out to the boundary and to the field. Again, very similar conceptually to what we did last year, the last 2 years, I should say, under Mike McDonald, with pretty much every outside linebacker in our system. I think the more versatile but yet safe blitzes / pass rushes we can do, the better. And for whatever reason, our guys on the back end are Darius Washington, Kyle Hamilton, and then Marlon Humphrey, of course, playing nickel. Those guys reacted a whole lot better against Russell Wilson. Is it really a byproduct of the Steelers' offense being limited in terms of their overall weapons? I do wonder if that's a larger factor than maybe some of us are aware of right now. We will see. The Steelers have a football game Thursday night. I think they've got a little tougher schedule the rest of the way than others make it sound. I don't think their road is paved to 13-4 or 14-3, something like that. They do have to come to Baltimore and play us again. I think Roquan is on top of their offense from a read standpoint. We got to be a little bit better at stopping direct flow run stuff out of 11 and 12 personnel, where they're essentially telling us the concept and then continue to handle the pass coverage with tight coverage in the back end. Those guys did a spectacular job of that on Sunday, in my opinion. You have to let me know if you agree with my assessment about how Roquan Smith performed in Sunday's loss to the Steelers. And then also give me some feedback on the plays that I chose to illustrate how well he played in our 2-point loss on the road. Appreciate you guys' time, man. If you think other Ravens fans would enjoy this film study look at Roquan Smith in Sunday's loss to the Steelers, please consider grabbing a link to this video, sharing it out on social media to help this content get more reach.